So, in the Horus heresy, there are a lot of big pivotal moments, such as the battle between Horus and the Emperor, when Horus made it to Terra, when the Emperor ascended to the throne, or when he left the throne. Those are big moments. But I think the absolute biggest moment in all of the heresy has to be the battle between Horus and Sanguinius. There's just something about the entire battle and the conflict between Horus and Sanguinius, where Sanguinius knows that he is going to die against Horus, and Horus being Horus by the end of the heresy. So instead of doing your typical run through of the lore, I'm going to do a run through of the lore and a few other things for this video. Starting with the actual battle itself, then we're going to look at some speculation of what if Sanguinius had actually fallen on Cygnus Prime, or if he had won the battle against Horus, what I think would have happened, and what general fan theories say might have happened if Horus had fallen to Sanguinius. So let's just start out with what happened in actual lore and is detailed in The Death and the End Volume 2. And if you've read that book, you know that the battle is very, very one-sided for most of it. And surprisingly, it's one-sided towards Sanguinius. He actually kind of dominates throughout this entire fight. What ends up happening is that when Sanguinius eventually enters Horus's throne room, I would guess you would call it, he has a little chat where Horus gives him the choice and the ability to join him. And Sanguinius quite literally just says no. Like, there was never a point in time where he was going to join Horus. Horus seemingly knew this during the exchange and wasn't surprised. And in this sort of chaos god state, at this point, he is more powerful than the Emperor. He actually kind of gives up his power. He returns to his Primarch form, and this is where the real battle begins. And they go through the whole sword fighting thing. While Horus can hit Sanguinius a lot harder, Sanguinius is faster, and it is said in the book that Sanguinius moves at the speed of light, which I think is just an over-exaggeration, but it is just trying to tell you that he is zipping and zooming around, basically. He is ducking, weaving, and dodging Horus's attacks, and he gets in some solid blows on Horus. For example, at one point, Horus's armor, the serpent scales, as they're called, they are punctured in his stomach, and he actually has to hold the wound closed. And this is the point in Horus's battle with Sanguinius, where Sanguinius is actually standing over Horus, while Horus is on his knees, or on one knee, holding the wound on his stomach. And he gives Horus a chance to surrender. And Horus literally goes, "Nah, fuck you." And so Sanguinius lifts his sword over his head. It is the Bleeding Carmine, I believe. And with a single hesitation, he hesitates for 1 second, and then he brings the sword down. And in that 1 second, Horus is able to reascend to his chaos, what I call his chaos god form. Horus actually catches the sword. It does not connect. Like, he catches it in his talon, I believe it was. I can't remember exactly, but he either catches it with his normal hand or with his talon, and he swats the sword away. I don't believe the sword is broken in this fight. I just think he kind of throws it away, and then his injury is healed, and Sanguinius backs away at the speed of light. And this is a really cool moment, so I'm actually going to read the lore quote for quote. So the exact quote is, "While the angel moved at the speed of light, Horus moved at the speed of darkness." So after this quote, this is where Horus, as I said, reascends to his god form, and he fucking obliterates Sanguinius. Like, my guy gets crushed into the deck plates, wings broken, and then at the very end, he offers to save Sanguinius, and Sanguinius, without being able to say anything, declines. So Horus picks him up in his talon and just crushes him. Like, think of holding like an orange in your hand and just squeezing it. That is what Horus does to Sanguinius. And I assume that there's some warp shenanigans going on because they are roughly the same size. But it's also probably Horus being chaos juiced. After this, Horus gets some demons to hang Sanguinius on a wall. And that is pretty much where Sanguinius fully dies. And the death is, and this is kind of contradictory, what I'm about to say. It says in the book that the death is so permanent that it is as if his soul had never existed, which is kind of weird because we know Sanguinius' soul exists in fragments. So it might just be a little bit of, you have to look into it and say, okay, he crushed his soul and shattered it like Magnus, which is probably what happened. But after this as well is when the Black Rage begins in the Blood Angels. But we're not going to talk about the gene flaws now. That will be a new video in the future sometime. Instead, we are going to look at what I think would have happened if Horus had died in the battle. So going back to the bit before Horus reascends to his Chaos God form, if Sanguinius hasn't hesitated, there is a chance that he would have beheaded Horus and killed him. And I think in this moment, Sanguinius would have felt such dread and hatred for himself and self-loathing and depression that it would have created the Black Rage anyway. And the biggest change here would be that Sanguinius himself would be alive to experience it. For those of you who don't know, for some reason it seems like the Blood Angels have a much stronger psychic connection to Sanguinius than most of the other legions with their Primarchs. And so that's why the Black Rage affected the legion so heavily when Sanguinius died and why they felt it. Now, this is where it would get interesting, or at least this theory, in my opinion, gets interesting, because we would also see the Emperor eventually come along, because the Emperor was still making his way to the throne room of Horus. And so I believe that the Emperor would know Horus had died, the sons of Horus would have known, the Chaos Gods would have fled, or they would have chosen Sanguinius, and in his rage-fueled insanity, he wouldn't have been able to resist them. And in this event, he would have been a chaos-fueled Sanguinius with the Black Rage. And with the Emperor coming along, I don't think the Emperor would have tried to save Sanguinius in this extent, or in this theory, because the Emperor had already thrown off all of his love and care for the Primarchs. He had sent that into the warp as the Star Child, which is another theory that I will cover in a different video. But with the Emperor doing this, it means that he would have just seen an angry Sanguinius and attacked. And I don't think the Emperor would have survived this. I honestly think that even though he had sworn off all of his care and love for the Primarchs, he would not want to kill Sanguinius. And so they would battle, with the Emperor trying to subdue Sanguinius. And in that attempt, he would be mortally wounded, but he would be able to heal the Black Rage in Sanguinius. Or at the very least, he would try to heal Sanguinius, and instead of, or he would successfully heal him, but the damage would be so severe the Emperor would have to be entombed on the Golden Throne anyway. And so then we would get the same 40k that we get now. The only other thing I could see happening is that Sanguinius is killed by the Emperor, which I do believe is what would have happened if the Emperor had to put him down. Now, despite the title of the video being what if Sanguinius won, or what if the Angel won, I do also want to talk about what if he fell on Cygnus Prime, or joined the traders at Cygnus Prime. And I honestly think that if Sanguinius had joined the traders, Horus would have died a long time before. And my reasoning for this is that Horus, while being a great commander and very charismatic, people worshipped Sanguinius as a deity before the whole emperor worship thing. So it stands to reason that a lot of traders would have actually looked to him more than Horus, especially as the heresy went on. And so there likely would have been a big fight like Lorgar had with Horus at some point, which would have resulted in Sanguinius killing Horus and taking command as the traitor war master. Now, whether or not Sanguinius would have been able to get them to Terra is a different story. I think he would have, and I think he would have won. Like, straight up, I don't think that there is winning against Sanguinius, especially considering the traders would still have Angron on their side, and no one but Sanguinius or probably the Emperor could stop Angron in his tracks. He's just too physically powerful. And just because I feel like it, and I figured why the fuck not, we're also going to ask, what if Ferrus Manus joined the traders? And the simple answer is, they would have decimated the loyalists, especially with the Iron Hands. There is literally no stopping them if Ferrus Manus was on the traitor side. I'm sorry, but at least the Iron Hands would have actually done something for once. But that's all the time I have for this video. If you think something else would have happened, do let me know in the comment section below and I will reply if I can. I will see you in the next video. Also, let me know in the comments what other lore topics you want covered, because I am just pulling at strings at this point to find unique topic names.